Aloha, folks, and welcome back to Degree Free. We are your hosts, Ryan and Hannah Mariyama. On this podcast, we share fundamentals we've discovered and the mistakes we've made while self-educating, getting work, building businesses, and making money. We'll tell you how to make it happen. No degree needed.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. We are happy to have you here with us listening, as always. If you want to get more degree free, because who doesn't want more degree free? Ryan and I send out a newsletter once a week. It has degree free resources, degree free jobs, companies that are rolling back degree requirements, and stuff that we think is cool. And if you want to get it, run, don't walk, over to degreefree.co/newsletter and sign up to get it in your inbox once a week.
Awesome. Let's get into today's episode. Today, we are going to be talking about 6 U.S. cities that will pay you over $10,000 to work remotely.
10 grand, people.
Yeah. And I guess we should timestamp this in 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
As of right now.
So
Do with this information what you will.
we thought it was interesting though, because costs are going up everywhere and
We're all hurting.
Everybody's paying more to live in general.
Yeah.
And this is just an interesting thing that there are places that are willing to pay you to live if you work remotely. And this is brilliant because a lot of smaller towns are trying to widen their tax base, and a lot of people are going the opposite way. They're moving into city. I mean, this is how it's always been, or it's been for a long time. In order to get work, you move into a bigger city.
The young people go to the big city.
Right. You go where the work is.
Mm-hmm.
And normally that's bigger cities.
Right. And that's where the higher paying jobs are. But now with the rise of tech and remote work, you can work wherever you want as long as the internet is fast enough. And so what's happened too, I believe that's contributed to this, is there's been a push to award money to rural townships and counties that want to revamp their internet. So if they want to lay down fiber optic internet and get fast internet where they are, there's grant money available for them. So I think that's what's contributed to this as well. So on top of them getting grant money to incentivize these workers to come there, they've also been able to revamp what they need to have there in order to attract the remote workers. So it's just very interesting.
Yeah. And this episode is going to have a lot of resources. And so we'll put all of the links to the show notes on our website, degreefree.co/podcast. So we'll put all of the show notes on our website, degreefree.co/podcast, and you can see the 6 US cities and the different restrictions or the ways in which you can be awarded this money, these grants or subsidies, whatever they are. Because every city handles it differently, and we'll get into that.
Mm-hmm. And then keep in mind too, some of these are towns and some are cities, which is good because depending on what you're looking for out of life, like maybe you want a small town lifestyle, which I think now some people are becoming more attracted to that. And so they want to move somewhere where there's a little bit slower, slower living, but they want to keep their income. And so this is just going to give you, this is the lay of the land as it is right now.
Yeah. And so I guess we kind of touch on it, but I kind of wanted to, before we get into the 6 US cities, I kind of wanted to talk about why would these cities do this?
They want your tax money.
Yeah, exactly.
And they also want you young because a lot of these towns are old. That's another thing. They are lacking in businesses, and they're lacking in businesses because they lack young people, because a lot of young people leave and they move and they go to the city. And so what they're doing is they're trying to backfill their youth, basically. They're young people who do the most of the work by attracting remote workers, because it's the easiest to set up remote workers. And it's not as easy to invest that money on people who are building brick and mortar businesses.
And not only that, do they want your tax money, but you also, by living in a place, you spend money in that area too.
Mhm.
So you go and buy groceries at the local grocery store.
You pay rent.
You pay rent. You buy a house. You
Go out to eat.
Go out to eat. Exactly. And so that money is coming in. They wouldn't have gotten that money any other way. So that money is coming in for basically free for them. I mean, not free, but
They're investing in you.
exactly. It's not free because they're paying you.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly right. They're investing in you knowing that, or hoping
That you'll stay.
You'll stay, or that the investment will pan out for them, that you'll spend either in tax revenue or in building businesses, which not building businesses, but rather, or maybe building businesses.
No,
but
some of it's to attract startup founders too, because they'd love to have, right? Because you take up no space basically.
Right. What I meant by that though was not building businesses, but spending money at businesses, and then that indirectly affects their tax base because revenues go up.
Right. And so it's a win-win for them. It really doesn't hurt them to do this, especially since a lot of the money has been federally awarded, so they have to give it away. Yeah. So why wouldn't they just give it to you?
And for this episode, we did find a good resource on MakeMyMove.com. It's geared towards remote workers, but offers specifics on every town. And then we went a little bit further than what they did, and we looked at average rent for a 2-bedroom, and we looked a little bit more into the specifics of how to get rewarded that money, and then also the specifics of the town a little bit.
Honorable mention too to the state of Indiana. Indiana had the most of these programs. It just did not have the highest paying, but they were directly below this first one. So their highest paying one was directly below this first one. So they weren't doing too bad. I think they were like $9,000 or something like that, but they definitely have the most options for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So without further ado, the first place is, and actually when I looked this place up, I was like, oh, it's such a cute little town, but it's called the Shoals, Alabama. And I know, you can hear the banjo music now, but I do have a friend who lives in Alabama who speaks very highly of it, and he really likes it there. He says it's a great place with good people. And this is a cute little like Americana type town, like, little brick downtown square, like pansies in the planter boxes, like very cute. This town is on a river that borders Mississippi and Tennessee. So that kind of gives you an idea of where it is. But I also looked on Zillow, and the houses there are extremely inexpensive. I noticed like a 3-bedroom, 1 or 2 bath was like, between $120 and like $160, which is pretty reasonable for a single family home nowadays.
Yeah. And well, I guess before, like, I should have said this in the very, very beginning. If anybody lives in these places, definitely give us a shout out.
Oh, yeah.
Contact at degreefree.co, send us an email, and let us know what you think about these programs, because I can see 2 sides of this.
This is making locals very irritated.
I could definitely see the locals getting like upset at this, because now more people are coming in, and they're getting money to come in, and maybe they have higher income than normal,
and it throws off the local economy.
Right. And then so more people come in and they start buying houses, rents go up, house prices goes up, home prices goes up. And so yeah. But I can see I see both sides of it. So I'd really like to know. And if we weren't supposed to say this, sorry about that.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this one, about the Shoals, Alabama, is that this $10,000 cash grant pays out over a year.
Yeah, this is cash, guys. They'll give you $10,000 in cash to move to this place.
Right. And like we said before, every one of these deals is
slightly different,
structured differently.
Yeah, because it looks like all of these towns have given some thought to how to string you along the longest.
Well, it's an investment, exactly what you said.
Yeah, they don't want to lose their money. Like they don't want to pay you out this $10,000 and then you just abscond, like a year in. They want you to stay. But this one definitely pays out the fastest for sure.
What does that mean? Abscond.
abscond. It means like take the money and run.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
I don't know what that is.
Oh man. My references are just
Yeah. So for all the people that
like
didn't
bank robbers, babe.
got it.
Yeah.
For all those people that didn't know what that word was, I got
like
you.
Jesse James and the Outlaws.
Got you. So average rent for a 2-bedroom
Careful, guys. Don't get shocked by this.
in the Shoals, Alabama is $700.
Let's move to the Shoals.
Yep.
The requirements for this are some of the most lenient also. Your income needs to be over $52,000 a year to qualify. So there are income requirements on some of these, and some of them are higher than others. This one's pretty reasonable. 52K a year is very achievable for like a customer service rep that works remotely or something like that. You could totally make that much and then move to this place and get paid an extra 10 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you must be able to move within 6 months. So some of these programs you have to apply, right? You have to apply for them. So they'll let you know if you are eligible for it or not. You don't have to move, before and then hope you are. You can apply and they'll say, yes, we have the funding for you. No, we don't have the funding for you.
Yeah. And I think that's an important point that I missed earlier. Yeah. And so with this, most of these programs, you don't have to move and then you're not moving.
Gambling.
Yeah.
Before you go.
Right. You're not moving on a hope and a prayer.
Yeah.
They'll
tell you.
Exactly.
They'll tell you, yes, you're eligible for this program. Yes, you're in it now.
And here's how to.
Here's how you're going to get paid out.
Exactly. Here's how you're going to get paid out. Here's how you can uphold your side
of the bargain. Here's where to file whatever paperwork that you have to file.
Right.
So another interesting thing about this is a lot of these places are trying to attract people from out of the state. This one, all you have to be is outside of the county. So you only have to be outside of the county of the Shoals, Alabama. You do not have to be from outside of Alabama, but a lot of them you have to be from out of state. They're trying to pull in people from other states. But Alabama is like, nah, as long as you live outside the county, you can come on in.
Yeah, in the Shoals.
Yeah. So this is a good one. This is interesting. I will say that of the ones on this list, this was the cutest town that I saw. It was adorable. I was like, oh, it's so cute. I want to live there.
And we're not trying to offend anybody. If you live in these places, prove us wrong, I guess. Like I said,
yeah, we're gonna get a bunch of
.co.
We're gonna get a bunch of negative comments about the Shoals, Alabama, but I think it was cute. Okay, the next one, folks, is Ruston, Louisiana. Number 2 is Ruston, Louisiana, a northern Louisiana college town with 1,000 megabits per second internet. So pretty quick, pretty fast internet. That is something too. I couldn't find the speed of the internet in the Shoals, but that is part of the reason that they're offering this program. They improve their internet speed, but I couldn't find the speed of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that's a big thing to consider when you are working remotely. And a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they might not have ever worked remotely yet, and that is definitely one of the things that you have to think about when you're moving to someplace.
If you can't have fast and reliable internet, you can't work there.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's especially, it really depends on your job.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on what you do. But let's say, okay, so for example, a little tangent here, guys. Mm-hmm. So let's say that you're a customer service rep, using the example that you did earlier. And let's say that you are a chat or there's even video customer service reps now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing something like that, you might want to consider, especially video, you might want to consider someplace that has fast internet, because you're going to be
laggy video.
Right. You're going to be needing that internet speed in order to do your job well, because you have to do shift work. On the opposite side of that, let's say that you're a content writer and you have editorial deadlines, but of which you don't need, other than your deadlines of which you need to hit, you don't necessarily need to be plugged into the computer.
Yeah, you could live at your house and not have internet and do your writing and then just go into the library and upload it if you want to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is true.
You can write your depending on what it is, but
sure.
Just for this example, you can write your whole story and then go to the coffee shop to upload it, and then you're done.
Yeah, finished. Pretty
much.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're still gonna have meetings and all that, but just for this example.
Yeah, not too bad. And so that does matter. This is also a decent town. So this one pays out 10K. It's a grant. It's paid out over 3 years, which is much longer than the other ones take. So it's definitely not as attractive as the Shoals, simply because of the time it's going to take to pay out. So you'd have to be there for 3 years in order to get the full amount, which, to each their own, right? Average rent for a 2-bedroom here is ridiculously cheap. It's $605 a month for rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in this place. Requirements are looser for this specific offer. So you have to be a remote tech worker, and later you'll see some of them have age or remote work type specifications. This one does not. You just have to work remotely. That's it. That's the only criteria.
And then, so I wonder with these, when it says remote tech worker, does that just mean you have to be a remote worker?
Yes.
Like,
that's what they mean.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to work in tech.
No.
Right. Like, you just have to be working remotely.
Correct. The reason is this, they don't want to, it's just to attract people whose jobs are not tied there.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, you can be a remote bookkeeper or something like that for a non-tech company, for a brick and mortar business in some other state. Yeah,
like you could be in a bookkeeper for a plumbing company in Michigan, but you work remotely, so you're a remote tech worker.
Right.
Yeah, really broad.
Yeah. And this one doesn't have any income requirements, right?
No. So you could be making $20,000 a year, and there's nothing to say that they would approve you for the program, but they might.
That's true. That's true, right? And as we said before, it's just not laid out. These all have application processes.
Yeah, and it's not laid out in the guidelines. It's not laid out in the guidelines for this one that I could find, though. So it's worth looking into if that's interesting to you. If you want to live in Reston, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, number 3, Northwest Arkansas.
And this isn't really a city. No. This is
as a place.
Yeah, right. So I mean, it's a little bit of a cheat here, guys.
Yeah,
but it's a area.
Yes. Northwest Arkansas. All right. So the Walmart family has given a bunch of money towards this initiative, and they want to move tech workers into their state. This offer is weird. The reason it's weird is because the offer is $10,000 in cash and a mountain bike that is valued at $750, which is a bold assumption about tech workers. If someone were to give me a bike, I don't know what I would do with it.
But is it like The Price is Right, though, where you can either take your $1,000 watch, or you can take the cash value of it?
No, you have to take the bike.
Oh.
What you would do with a mountain bike, with a $750 mountain bike, if you don't ride bikes, I don't know. But I guess they want you to go outside. It's for your health. It's an investment. It's investment in your health. So average rent for a 2-bedroom in Northwest Arkansas is $870, folks. Requirements are stricter with this one than the other programs. Okay. So you have to be, this one's interesting. This one's kind of weird. You have to be 24 years or older with 2 years of work experience in order to qualify for this program. You must be fully employed, but you can be self-employed or employed at a company. And you do have to be fully employed, but fully self-employed or fully employed at a company. You cannot be from Arkansas in order to do this. You have to live out. You have to be from outside of the state, and you must be able to relocate within 6 months.
So, and just to clarify that, doesn't mean that you couldn't have been born in Arkansas, but you just have to...
You can have residency.
Right, exactly. You have to be a resident of another state in order to apply and get approved for this program within 6 months. Then you're moving there. But you, at one time or another, you could have lived there and been a resident, but you're just currently not a resident and you live somewhere else.
Yeah, like you moved to California or something and now you want to move back.
The restrictions on this one, the requirements are interesting because must be 24 years or older with 2 years of work experience. And I'm just taking a stab in the dark. I don't know why, but I'm guessing it's because they want somebody or people that one, have a track record, like a work record, and that they know like are going to stay. I wonder what like the statistics say on people that are 24 years or older. I wonder if they're less likely to move.
Well, you know what I thought was weird about this too is that it's 24 years old with 2 years of work experience. That eliminates, I mean, if they want full-time work experience, that eliminates a lot of college graduates. It eliminates about 60% of them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't think that was the intent. The intent was probably the opposite, but that's kind of what it does though.
Right. And so just for everybody, the average college student, if you graduate, now this is even if you graduate, you graduate in 5.5 years.
Yeah.
And so just assuming that you go in at 18, 23 and a half.
You would not meet this criteria.
Right. Exactly.
Which is weird. It's odd. I wonder what demographic of people they're getting applying for this one. But interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. And so this one is weird because it's not an actual city.
It's an area.
It's an area of Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, so you can live anywhere up in there, any of the towns.
Right. And like I said, the links to everything, if you're thinking about moving to Arkansas or this is something that this sounds attractive to you, if you really want that mountain bike.
Who wouldn't?
Right, exactly. All the show notes will be at degreefree.co/podcast, and you can find everything.
Get your bike today.
Yeah, exactly.
What a bike. I'm sorry, but like, who is this? What's the Parks and Rec guy? It's Rob Lowe, whatever Rob Lowe's character from Parks and Rec. That seems like to me the type of thing that he'd be like, all right, we're going to attract people to Pawnee, Indiana. Chris, his name is Chris in the show. And Chris is like, you know what we should give him? Yes, Leslie, 10K and a mountain bike. And then everybody's like, no. And he's like, yes, because health is very important. And like, it manages to get through anyway. And now they just deal out mountain bikes to people just because. Anyway.
Yeah, I wonder.
I was like, who did that?
Yeah.
Like, and a mountain bike. You got to give them a mountain bike. That's what tech workers want. Like, anyway.
Yeah. And so the next one is going to be Tulsa, Oklahoma.
And I know I can just hear people like, oh my God, but it's Oklahoma. Yeah, man. But you know what? They're going to pay you $10K to move there. Tulsa, Oklahoma actually has a pretty good, it has a pretty good little rep. It's like a mid-sized city. There's a lot of parks. There's a lot of museums, a lot of families. It's very family oriented. So there's a lot of outdoor activities. And they love remote workers. They have 2 different programs actually that will pay you $10K in order to get there. So you have options.
Yeah. Internet speed is similar to Ruston. They have 1 gig internet there as well. Average rent for a 2-bedroom is $1,061 a month.
You'll notice there's a jump, but that's because this is an actual city.
Right. It's a city.
Tulsa is a city. Like they will have, they'll have city things as opposed to town things or mountain things. Like a mountain bike, like mountain biking trails.
And so the requirements for this one, you have to be full-time remote or self-employed. Same thing. You got to live outside of Oklahoma though.
Yeah. So yeah, same thing in that way. The one thing about the Northwest Arkansas and the Tulsa ones are that they allow you to be self-employed. That is attractive to internet entrepreneurs. So if you run that could mean anything too. Like if you run a business selling Canva templates, you qualify.
Right.
So
as long as you're 18 years old for this one. So for this one, yeah. And 18, I was like, shoot, again, if you get lower entry level, full freelance work and you want to move to Tulsa, Oklahoma and you want to pay $12,000 a year in order to rent a 2-bedroom apartment, that's not a bad gig. That almost covers your rent for the entire year. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it like that. And for Tulsa, Oklahoma, it explicitly says you must be eligible to work in the U.S.
Yeah, you cannot be from anywhere else. You have to be from the United States and eligible to work.
Or you just must be eligible to work in the United States.
Oh yeah, so I guess you could have an H-1B visa.
Yeah, you can have you just have to be eligible to work in the United States. You can be from other places.
Right. You have to be qualified to work in the United States. Yeah.
And so that's Tulsa, that's good. There's fast internet. The cost of living is a little bit more expensive. I've never been to Tulsa, so
I never have either.
right. But I mean, from what we've
city.
seen, it's a city, and so you have all the things that cities have, which is nice.
Yeah. So if you want if you want to live in a city, that's not a bad one to live in.
Yeah.
It's also pretty safe, from what I read, which was I was like, oh, nice, mid-sized, safe city. Not bad. Number 5, Rochester, New York. Why somebody would want to live where this much snow is, I don't know, but to each their own. Rochester is a good sized city, also a city, and it ranks high on remote workers' lists of good tech towns. There's a lot of restaurants, internet, 1,000 megabits per second. And so it's really popular with young tech workers. It's been exploding, but they still have this program up and running. So if you are interested, this is where it starts to get gangster, these last two. But Rochester, New York will pay you $10,000 for relocation, and they will give you $9,000 in home buyer credit, which means that they will contribute $9,000 towards you buying a house in this area.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, altogether, assuming that you're buying.
Yeah, assuming you buy, which I don't know that tech workers are really into buying houses immediately, but as soon as they move somewhere, Yeah,
but assuming you're buying, you get $9,000 towards your home as well. Average rent, $1,187 for a 2-bedroom.
Correct. So you'll notice that Tulsa and Rochester the rent for a 2-bedroom is more expensive because they're actually cities. They're not towns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now this one, so you must live, this one's kind of weird too. So you must live 300 miles away from downtown Rochester currently in order to qualify for this. So you have to be from somewhere else in New York or somewhere else outside of a 300-mile radius of Rochester. And it specifically says downtown Rochester. So I guess Google from there and then put a radius out and see if you qualify. This one's not bad either. 18 years or older, eligible to work in the U.S., and then you must be able to move within 6 months of acceptance into the program. But that is a total of $19,000 in cash value.
Right. And if...
That's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah. And like we said, if you don't know if you live 300 miles, if you're on the cusp or whatever, you can also apply to these programs and they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. And they'll tell you. You don't have to, don't move to these places.
And then be like, why can't I get
and just be like, this is why I moved here, because you're not going to get it.
Can you imagine if somebody did that?
I mean, I absolutely can. And that would be a bummer.
That would be a bummer.
That'd be a bummer.
Think about it when it starts snowing and they have to shovel their car out of their driveway.
Or I mean, just in general, if you expected to get it, or at least you were hoping to get it, and then you're like, or what would really be a bummer too is if you actually moved to any one of these places, if you fit these requirements, but you hadn't
moved before you applied,
exactly,
and they won't let it.
Exactly,
They won't let you do it.
Exactly, because they got you anyway.
That's true. You're already there.
Yeah, they got you.
And you're
anyway.
like, hey man, where's my remote worker credit? And they're like, well, you're already a resident, so sorry, you don't qualify anymore.
Right.
Now we just get your money.
Exactly.
Make sure to get your money, people.
Yeah, and so the last one, number 6 on the list, is going to be Morgantown, West Virginia.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, sorry, I gotta do it. I actually like West Virginia. Is kind of a pretty place in certain areas. It's okay. This one this one's pretty wild though, much like West Virginia itself. Their internet is super fast in Morgantown. It is 1,200 megabits per second, which is kind of crazy. These crazy people want to give you $12,000 in cash. This is how badly they're hurting for people. This is pretty wild. They're going to give you $12,000 in cash, and and the rest of the incentive is $20,000 in the form of a homebuyer credit or other compensation. What does that mean? I don't know, but that is a lot of money to move somewhere.
So just to clarify that's $12,000 and then an extra $20,000?
Correct.
In home buyer credit and whatever else?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
But what if it's $20,000 in mountain bikes?
Yeah.
What if
they show up?
How many mountain bikes is that?
Yeah, exactly. And then they show up with
a fleet of mountain bikes.
Yeah, a shipping container, and they drop it. They drop it in your apartment. In your apartment parking lot,
Yeah. And you're like,
and it takes up like 10 stalls.
now you're responsible for all these, some other form of compensation. What else would they give you in West Virginia in the form of $20K worth of compensation?
There are a lot of mountains
in West Virginia.
in West Virginia.
I know, that's why I suspect.
You could use the mountain bike. You absolutely could use it.
You could resell the mountain bikes
at
a profit, hopefully.
So
I'm sorry. I'm just picturing thousands of mountain bikes. Okay.
West Virginia has the lowest average rent in the US.
Yes, it does. Not only that, the houses, if you do look at this town, the housing is very cheap. There's not a lot of housing available, but it's very inexpensive. And then the average rent for a 2-bedroom is $727 per month. So if you take that cash, you could live for free for a year. Well, more than a year, actually, right? More than a year.
Well, for all of these. I mean, for most of these. For a bunch of these. Like Ruston, Louisiana, if you're 605 is a 2-bedroom and they're giving you 10 grand, that's a year of
rent. And then the requirements for this one are also pretty lax in that full-time remote work outside of West Virginia. So the work cannot be for a company inside of West Virginia, and you must be over 18 years old. Those are the only criteria.
Yeah. It makes sense.
These people want to give you $12 grand in cash and $20,000 worth of mountain bikes.
Yeah, exactly. And home buyer credit or other
or something else.
Compensation. It makes sense. Just kind of recapping over all of these. Like, I think it's brilliant.
It's so smart. It's just a win-win, honestly.
Yeah. If your township, if your county, whatever, city needs more tax base,
import them.
Exactly. And it's never been easier to work remotely. And with COVID and everything that's happened over the last 2 years, people have never worked more remotely. The number of people that are remote workers has never been higher.
Yeah. And it does seem, I know that because the economy is in downtrend right now, a lot of people think that that's going to change, but I think that it's not going to. I think it's going to continue in that direction, because why would you take on the extra cost, right? Why would you take on the extra cost of an office space when you don't need an office space to operate? And then you would just move a lot of your W-2 workers to contract workers and keep them remote. And there you go. Now your business has the opportunity to save money. And, you know, I think the trend is going to continue, and as opposed to shrink, like a lot of people are saying. So that's just my thought. But yeah, Morgantown, West Virginia, you have outdone yourself.
Yeah. This is a really good list for anybody that's thinking about moving into a lower cost of living place
with a higher because you're making money,
right? And I know that a lot of people this is their first time working remote, and they live in cities and they're looking to get out of them and looking to save a little bit of money. This could be a way that you not only are saving money because the cost of living is lower, but you can actually have them pay you to move there. And like you said, maybe it pays for a year of rent, or maybe it pays for the entire moving cost, whatever it is that you spend your $10,000 and your, mountain bikes on.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is like another thing to think about that's just it's part of this, but it's not the main feature, would be that if you live in a high cost of living area or a high tax state and you move to one of these places, you can be lowering your taxes while getting paid to move to that place that costs less for you to live. So if you're looking to leverage your salary and your remote flexibility and you're willing to do this is very interesting.
Yeah. And I guess we should have said this at the beginning, but there are some companies, check with your company, because some companies will not keep you on if you move into a certain state.
Correct. Some states won't let you move to New York because they don't want to pay the unemployment taxes for the state.
Right. Or just in general, like they might not have
not eligible to work.
They might not have a business structure set up there. And Therefore, in order to pay you legally, they have to set up a different one in order to pay you, and they're not going to do that.
Just for one person.
Right.
Yeah.
So obviously check with your company.
Yeah.
First.
Or just take your entire team of coworkers with you.
Right. Exactly. Go up to the CEO and tell them we're moving.
We're going to West Virginia.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you live in any one of these towns, or if you think you're going to use this list, please reach out to us. Contact at degreefree.co. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
We're very curious.
Yeah. And if you want links to everything that we talked about today, this one, like I said, it's going to be really resource heavy. Mm-hmm. You can find the list at degreefree.co/podcast, and you can look it up. The 6 US cities that'll pay you $10,000.
Yeah, if you want to get more cool stuff like this, then go on and run over to degreefree.co/newsletter to sign up for the weekly newsletter that Ryan and I send out. Resources, job ideas, paid apprenticeships that we found, and just cool news articles that we're like, hey, this would be interesting, and our people might want to read this. So if you don't want to miss that, go on over and sign up.
Yep. Last thing before you go, if anybody else could use this episode, please consider sharing this with them. This one's a useful one. If you're thinking about getting out from where you live now, if you have a remote working situation, you work from home situation, whatever it is, I know that we've shared this information with a couple of people. So yeah, if you could give us a share, give us a review, wherever it is that you get your podcast, that'd be great. All right. Until next time, guys. Aloha.